All right, hello guys. We are the Sparksmith Studio. We are doing a XR welding educational game. And a little bit about our project background. So the US is facing critical shortage of welders, and there are 375,000 needed in 2024. So due to the increasing demand, that's when our client, Professor Dina El-Zanfaly, the professor from School of Design, started their project. And this is a demo of their project. It's a AR welding simulation, and as you can see, they have the visual and audio feedback on teaching the player how to weld. And also in the end, you can see there will be an evaluation table that shows you how well you've done on the welding simulation. So, but the existing project does not have any focus. It's more traditional and it's skill-based, but it does not track new user or have any user retention. So that's when we jumped in. We wanted to add a narrative-driven gamified experience, and we wanted to see if this helped with the motivation, engagement, and also user retention. So our project goal is to add a gamified VR welding experience that transforms the player from having little interest or confidence in welding into learners who develop genuine curiosity, confidence, and motivation to pursue welding more seriously. So our target audience will be teenagers and young adults who ages from 15 to 21 and who are preparing to learn welding but currently lack interest, confidence, or prior experience.
So the first step is really to decide what kind of narrative direction we should go. So we playtest with two directions. First, the lower one is like more realistic in the garage style. The upper one we test with what if we'd go with sci-fi style, like a space thing. And we finally decide with the space thing because a strong early preference. Everybody voted for that space thing. And so we have this early preference of players wanting to be a spaceship menace worker and trying to find a goal that makes welding more meaningful. In order to develop this game more responsibly and thoughtfully, instead of just talking to our professor Dina, we also reached out to John Fulmer from TechSpart, who has extensive experience in welding education. And there's two major takeaways. The first, never hurry your students while they're learning welding. Second, sticking things together is like the cocaine effect on students while they're trying to learn how to weld. And keep these two things in mind. We are having this early test with two major mechanics. We call them line weld and point weld. They're not professional language. We just name it for easy reference. And the first line weld is the basic welding techniques we can observe from Dina's project. The second is the point weld. We call it, it's like we're trying to explore creative ways for people to sticking things together. And we hope this is fun and we hope it grasps the feeling of welding. However, is that true? Are they really fun and grasp the feeling? So in order to test our idea, we visited Industrial Art Workshop, which is a non-profit organization that teaches welding. And during that visit, we are able to prove that our direction on the mechanic is right. And also also we got a lot of inspirations on how to make it better. And really exciting news, we are now a partnership with Industrial Art Workshop, which means in the future we'll be able to do a lot of play tests with them. And so here are some major takeaways. First, helmet is really important for safety concern. Second, always weld slower than you're expected. And the third, the real-time visual and audio feedback is super important. And the last two is about like how to make welding more engaging. For example, like the flow state that you entered while you're welding is something that makes you love welding. And also piecing art together, like sticking things together, is just fun. So now we are going to address these takeaways one by one.
So the first takeaway we have is the importance of helmets, so about safety and immersion. We build a fully functional welding mask that player can physically pull up and down. So if the player worn the mask during welding, it will enable an auto darkening feature similar to how real welding work to protect their eyes from sparks. But if the player did not wear the mask while welding, they will trigger a flash blindness effect that basically just going to simulate the consequence of looking at sparks directly in real welding. And also we figured that safety score is an important feature that we should implement, so that will be part of our final evaluation process. And the second takeaway we have is to always weld slower than expected. To address this, we implement Medable, which is a visual effect that generates multiple blur and also smooths them together when they're close enough. So from the base of that, we increase the generation time of each Medable, so they are generated like when players stay in the same area for like more than half a second. And then to prevent player from staying in the same area for too long, we increase the Medable size so that we hope to provide a really clear visual cue to if they're moving too slow or too fast. Because if they're moving too quick, like the line will break into individual blob. And if they're moving to, at the correct speed, the Medable should form a really smooth, professionally looking line. And the third takeaway is to the live and visual and audio feedback. So we use Unity's VFX effect system to implement the spark when welding. And also we have a virtual projector on players' left-hand watch to basically provide the mission briefing and the progress report. And in addition, because all the instructors from IAW were constantly saying that how important sound is during welding, we try to simulate the effect how an experienced welder will differentiate between a success and a failure weld. So we implement both success and failure weld for based on players' hand position and how they're welding.
All right, so I'll jump in here and I'll talk a little bit about the narrative setting and how we are using it to specifically try to create and foster that flow state of welding environment that we're going for, as well as to get the idea across the idea that putting things together is fun and then it's art, it's a way of expression. Welding has the power to do that. And so we have the characters here that for our story, the ship we're calling the Picasso. For that art reason, Picasso is a very notable artist, and he also did a lot of metalworking art. And so we found that this was a good real-world link to create to kind of plant that idea in the background of the game. Similarly, the captain, who will be the playable character, we decided to make him an artist for similar reasons, and also specifically to make him not a professional welder, to create more of a parallel between the player who is not expected to be a professional, that as they gain more confidence and familiarity with welding, so too does the character, and they will be able to share that emotional arc more closely. And then we have a small assistant robot that we're calling Paulo, that is a good source of information and guidance for the player. So here we have a short introduction storyboard of the setup of our game. You can see an asteroid collides with the ship, setting up the things that will need to be fixed over the course of the game. The player will then be called into the welding booth at the end there, which will trigger the initial repair of the game in the introduction and gameplay. So this is the sound that you will hear if you are welding successfully. You can hear that it's very smooth, it's very rhythmic, it's very constant. Not only does this mimic the real-life sound of having a successful and proper weld, but it also, that constant rhythm, really helps reinforce and get you into that flow state. But on the flip side, the failure sound effect, once again trying to mimic what it's like in real life, it's very stuttery, very stopping and starting to break up that sort of feeling. And the goal is that this will provide a good contrast with the success sound effect, that as the player gets more comfortable and confident and they're able to do more consistent, successful welds, that will really reinforce the feeling of success and growth for the player.
And for a quick gameplay of ours, so you're beginning with a tutorial, and it will begin with fixing the little robot Pablo. And also after that, after the mission briefing, you will navigate to your execution area. When you execute the mission, you will also have the live audio and visual feedback from the Pablo. And also when the mission complete, you will report back and also land on Earth eventually. And there will be a quick demo of our whole experience. As of right now, we are having it in a little booth.
Simple calculate. Draw a straight line on the metal in front of you.
So you can see we also implemented the safety feature. So when you don't have the mask on, you will have like a flashbang effect, as mentioned before. And also, as you're welding, you will have the weld mark and also visual and live audio feedback. And also we added the UI on the left hand so that you can see like how well you're doing and if there's something you need to fix. And also you can see the score and also the mistake you have made, and you can have a retry for right now. So after that, you can see the two pieces of white and red piece will be welded together, but we are still working on the weld mark for right now. So.
And now I'll talk about the art and aesthetic aspect of our project. In order to grasp the idea of how the advanced or futuristic robot welding will look like, since our story is set in distant future, we paid a visit to MU19, the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute, to took some inspiration of how the aesthetics and the mechanical structure and how the welding process is going to look like in the future. And that helps us create the 3D assets for the game. For now, we have already established the key assets, which is the welder, the machine, and the welding torch, and some other environmental props and environments that the player is going to be in. And we think it's important for the players to enjoy the immersive and zen feeling of welding experiences that we mentioned before. So for the many drafts of our welding booth environments, we finally choose to have the smaller one that creates a less distractive environment for players to be in when they are welding, when they need to concentrate. And since we are still aiming for like a standalone VR on MetaQuest 3 for the build to run, we are aiming for a low poly environment with assets. So basically, that's how it's gonna look like for most of the assets in the game.
So here's our milestone. We're currently at the Halves. We're working on the playable vertical slice. And before Playtest Day, we'll have this feature complete build. And then during the soft opening, we'll have content complete build till finally we have a polished experience. And more detailed plan before Playtest Day. By the end of this week, we'll visit IAW again to play test our mechanics with the welding instructors. And then we'll bring our prototype to GDC at the ETC booth so that we can have this play test with a lot of game developers. And then we will also bring to showcase our work on March 20th in this CMU Scholar to Scholar events. And finally, we will have, again, a visit to IAW to play test with our narratives with the welding students. And that's, oh yeah, one more. Our final deliverables will be this 15-minute prototype, a single-player experience with one narrative setting, which is in outer space. You're welding to fix the spaceships in order to get back to planet Earth. And also two welding mechanic, which is point weld and the line weld. And that's all. Thank you for listening. And yeah, if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
So in your process, you guys have all learned welding, am I right? So how does the experience you've built to date, how does it, compare?
So actually, it's something we definitely want to be aware of, like the actual gap between the game we want to create and also like the live welding. But to talk first about like our experience, we spent like entire afternoon there, and we really feel like the zen feeling that we felt, because when you put your mask on, you only see that little spark in front of you and hear that sound. That's like your word. You're in that little booth. It's a zen feeling, a flow state that makes everyone on our team actually kind of love welding. And that's something we want to create. However, the gap is that because we are creating a game trying to spark the interest instead of really teaching them how to learn. So we are trying to grasp the feeling, but not really as specific as what our client Dina has. But yes, zen feeling. And is there something else you guys want to talk about? Okay, I guess there definitely is a gap.
I have a question for probably for Alvin, Zelin, and Barry. I like your research process, but the 3D assets are looking kind of plain, boring, unappealing. How are you going to get the storytelling and the excitement into the 3D production?
I think for are you thinking about the demo, like the video is placeholder assets, just for the demo we showed today.
Mm-hmm.
And for the actual quality of the model itself, we actually show the non-hero assets in one of the slides. That's gonna be like in the game. And one of the key aspects of welding, like when the player is using the mask, is the brightness of the spark. And we definitely gonna like improve the visual effects of how the spark behave and how the the metal ball, like the structure that the welding gun is creating, that we're gonna glow and that we're gonna flow. And we're definitely gonna do some like tech hard shaders for that. So yeah, there's gonna be improvements after this.
I like the fact that you guys mentioned, talked about the flow state that your players achieve or that people who weld achieve. Can you talk about the frustrations that also may occur when you're trying to weld something, you can't quite get it? And how are you working that into your design to get us from frustration to lessons learned to flow state achieved?
Yeah, so I can speak like from my own experience with the welding. Like I was thinking about that. And interestingly, it was a little frustrating when you try like 3 or 4 times and you can't quite get it and you aren't exactly sure what you're doing wrong precisely. But I kept doing it. I spent like so long in there trying to get a straight line, and it was frustrating, but it didn't break me out of that feeling. And so we're trying to capture that similar feel. Like that's what I mentioned, like the welding spark sound design is to create that contrast so that when you start getting it right, it really celebrates it and you really feel it. And then the more that you get it, the more used to the success sound effect and the more the failure sound effect becomes, oh, I don't do that anymore. That in particular, we're really trying to emphasize and bring out.
Yeah, so how important do you feel the narratizing the game? How important is that as opposed to just doing a straight line, doing whatever, as opposed to wrapping a narrative around it?
I can talk about it. Yeah, so for me, like designing the narrative, like I was thinking a lot about like what point is the narrative trying to serve here? And we found that it's a really good setting through which to bring out a little bit of creativity and create a good environment for you to be putting things together, but with a little bit of a focus of it. Like your goal is to basically fix this ship. And a few of the scenarios we're going to have is we need you to construct something in the shape of this. Go. So we're trying to bring out that ability for them to be creative while also giving them a bit of a structure and success and failure states along the way, as opposed to a little more straightforward, I don't want to say bland, but more like teaching tool essence of Dina's work.
And also thinking of our target audience, we're focusing on teenagers and young adults from 15 to 21. The space theme itself is actually really intriguing to them. And that's why we kind of develop our game idea around that and also talk to the weld instructors, talk to the students that were there while we were visiting IAW. They all liked it and felt like, oh, it's cool. Even if it's just a game, we want to do it. And that's something we believe it's can really spark this interest to learn welding.
So as far as I know about welding, which I don't know a lot, the grip is what's really hard and the muscle memory of holding the grip. And I don't think it's the same as holding a Quest controller. Are you enforcing having users hold the controller the way you'd hold a welding pen?
So going really forward, so during our client visit, there's an image of me holding like this welding gun that's attached to MetaQuest 3, and we will implement that. We will have this collaboration to put the MetaQuest control on a real welding gun to have the real weight, and also the mask is also a 3D printed mask with MetaQuest 3 inside it. It's hidden inside. You probably couldn't see it, but yes. So that's our way to kind of solve it. That's also the things that Dina already have, and we are still in the process of getting their 3D printed file. There's a long process of like this kind of documents things, but yeah, we are getting it. So
I think it's good, but even if you want just like people to be able to download this game, you can just tell them to hold it, like this instead of like a Quest controller. So you can try playing around with that.
all right, yeah, definitely. Thank you.